thank you so much for joining me today. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be looking at some products from Ohuhu, and I'm going to be unboxing them, well, unpackaging them with you and having a little look at how they work on different types of cardstock that I typically use for card making and watercolouring, and just how they kind of perform initially. And then over time, hopefully we'll get to look at them in a more extended review of how I've used them over some time period, because obviously I haven't used these products yet. I reached out to Ohuhu and asked them if I could try some of their alcohol markers, and they have very kindly sent me a selection of water-based markers, acrylic markers, some fine line drawing pens, and their brand new dual tip dot pens, which are perfect for bullet journaling and art journaling if you're into that. And they are sending me some alcohol markers, but they were out of stock, so they'll be coming soon and I'll be looking at them. I was particularly interested in those for colouring stamped images. However, acrylic markers, water-based markers, dot markers and drawing pens are great for art journaling, and I do like to do a combination of both. So I'm really excited to try these products. So let's start opening some of the products, having a little look at them, having a little play with them, and we'll just have a look at a few things: how they work on different types of card, how they hold up to whether they colour match their packaging, the ink flow, whether it's consistent amongst some of the pens, and we'll also have a look at the vibrancy and the performance of the pens as well. So this is just going to be a quick unboxing and having a go. So first of all, I'm going to look at the dot markers. So these come in a really cute little pencil case, and then we've got dual tip pens. So one end is a bigger point and the other end is a little point. So let's have a look. I've got three types of cardstock that I'm going to be comparing. I've got some watercolor cardstock. This is the Pink Frog watercolor card. Then I've got some Nina Solar White from Crafter's Companion, and then I've got my normal super smooth white cardstock from Craft Stash, which I absolutely love. So I think the colour matches up pretty well. No bleeding there on the watercolour cardstock. Really good variation in size dots that we can create. The Nina Solar White, however, it did kind of, if you can see that, it looked like it kind of bled slightly. There's a bit of feathering around the outside of the lines, so I probably wouldn't use them on this anyway. I only saved my Nina card for alcohol markers, but in all honesty, I've really been loving the Craft Stash card that I haven't used any Nina for quite a while. So, this is the Craft Stash Super Smooth cardstock, and yeah, perfect. I would say it's reacted really well on that, much better than the Nina actually. And again, I would say the colour consistency for that lid is pretty consistent. So let's have a look at another one. So let's pull out this purple. And we'll try it on both the cards. And again, it's kind of reacted the same way. I'd say the colour is not too far off. You can get a really good variation of size dots depending on the pressure. So that's the watercolour card again. This is the Nina card, and again, it's on there okay, but you can feel where it's reacted with the paper, so it's kind of feathered the paper a little bit, whereas on the Super Smooth from Craft Stash, there's very little feathering at all. There's absolutely none on the watercolor card. But yeah, again, you've got really good variation. This is definitely better than the Nina for this particular pen. Again, I'd say the color is pretty accurate actually. I just want to show you, so on this bullet tip, the very fine tip, if you look at it, hopefully that camera's picking it up there, it's quite a soft tip, so it does have some flex in it. So depending on how hard you press, depends on the kind of size dot that you get. And obviously if you press too hard on a slight angle, you're not going to get a dot. So that's just something to be mindful of. Obviously you want to be using direct pressure, and then that way you're going to get better results. So I'm not going to swatch all of these out, but I would say from the two pens we've looked at, well, let's just do one more. Let's do a green. But yeah, I would say the actual colour I'd say the colour matches really well actually. So these are the journal pens. So they are dual tip for dot and calligraphy, water based and non-bleed through, bullet journal, calligraphy, colouring and more, non-toxic. And that is something actually just to mention, because they can be used for calligraphy, that's why that other end is slightly more flexible. But if you did want to use it for fine dots, you definitely can, as we've done there. Just going to have a look in the bottom of this packet. Yeah, so just some safety information. But yeah, really cute little pens. So they'll be really fun to play with. And yeah. So next, let's have a look at these fine drawing pens. Again, they come in a nice little packet. You've got a variety of sizes. And these are brush, you've got a brush tip, you've got fine tips, and then you've got a 1mm tip as well, which is obviously a bit broader. So it's smooth, waterproof, fade resistant, quick dry, no smears pens. So again, we've got a little leaflet in the back of the packet. Features: cover the cap immediately after use, so you don't, obviously they're going to dry out pretty quick if you don't do that. And for the pens with 0.05 pen point, the pen point is finer and the ink comes out slower. So it says, please write or draw slowly for a smooth writing experience. So that's something to bear in mind when we're testing it. So let's start with I think we'll start with the brush pen. Let's have a look at the brush pen. So they're really nice pens actually. They feel really nice to hold. And you've got on it B for brush. So there's the tip. Let me bring that up there. It's a really nice tip. Now I am not a hand letterer, but let's just write my name and give it a go. This is the Craft Stash Super Smooth card. Oh dear. So it's squeaking on the paper. I don't know if they normally do that, but as you can see, my handwriting's terrible. I'm sure if you could actually letter write, these would be really nice. Let's try it on the Nina. So as I said, I'm not a hand letterer, but the pen is definitely working fine. It actually works better on the Nina here. I would say that's a much more clearer black with no feathering. Again, it's completely smooth on the paper, but it has feathered on the Nina. But when I say no feathering, I mean you can't visibly see it there. Whereas on here, I felt like it did bleed out a little bit. But no bleeding through the back, but you definitely can see it. Let's have a look at that actually. Whereas you can't on the Craft Stash. I think that's because that's a heavier weight. Let's just try it on the watercolor card. Oh, I give up trying to letter write. But yeah, again, absolutely fine. Really, the ink is consistent. As I said, I'm not a hand letterer, so I personally wouldn't be using the brush pen generally. But let's try one of the fine tips. Let's try the 0.5. So you can see there, it's really fine tip. So again, let's just let's write my name. Oh, that's nice. That feels really nice to use. Really nice to use, definitely. Again, the Nina's not reacted great to this pen, but the watercolor and the Craft Stash card have reacted really well. And yeah, no bleeding, no feathering. So really nice flow as well. Let's try the really fine tip. The 0.05. Let's have a look at this one. So it's really tiny. Can you see it there? The camera's not going to focus on it. There we go. Really fine. So again, let's just write my name. I'm going to write on this as well actually, Craft Stash. Pink frog watercolor. and then Nina. So yeah, I would say the ink flows really well. I know it says to write slowly, but as you can see, we didn't there. And you've definitely got a really good consistency. So if you're into drawing, these would be perfect, obviously. But I think they'll also be really nice for, you know, sometimes if you stamp an image and you're using acrylic block and there's a tiny gap or you've missed a bit, you could definitely use these to fill in because it's waterproof ink. So if you're going to watercolor your image, then these would be perfect. Also, they'd be great for adding details and highlights and just general writing. But yeah, obviously they are designed specifically for drawing. But yeah, really good flow on the pens and really affordable. So maybe a great place to start if you're starting out doing some drawing. So next, I'm really excited to try these. These are the acrylic markers. They're called Kakaku. I think that's how you say it, Kakaku series. 30 colours in here, jewel tips, bright colours, water-based, low odour ink, good coverage and works on most surfaces. So these will be really versatile for mixed media, definitely. So let's have a look inside. So we get some spare tips. That's really handy. How to use. So it says when using, please shake the pen up and down to make the ink evenly mixed. You need to hear the click noise as you shake. So let's just get one out. Ah, perfect. So you can hear that. Then it says press the tip down 5 to 8 times, 3 to 5 seconds each time at first use until the ink seeps out, and then draw lines on the paper. When the lines are even and smooth, it's ready to go. It writes smoothly when the ink doesn't come out during use. Press the pen tip again to make the ink flow evenly. Cover the pen cap immediately after use to avoid drying. And then it says if the colour does not perform well on a dark surface, you can use a white colour first before applying your desired colour and add layers. So you can layer with these pens as well. So excellent, we've got that. And then we've got swatch sheets in both black and white. So that is really, really handy. So I'll do some swatching a bit later, but let's just try this pen out. So this is V8. You've got names on the caps. V842 Pastel Lilac. V842 Pastel Lilac. There we go. So let's give it a good shake. And are these jewel tips? Yeah, jewel tips. Look. So we've got a fine end and then a broad end. So that's handy. So I'll use the broad end on here. Coming out of there, maybe I need to give it more of a shake. These are going to be really fun for adding details to art journal pages, definitely. So how's the colour looking? Well, that's not too bad. It's not a completely different colour, obviously. It's slightly paler than the cap, but you know if you're picking this up, you're getting that shade of colour, even if that's slightly lighter. I hate it when you pick up a pen and say it's that colour, but then you use it and it's a completely different tone of colour completely. I really struggle with my pro markers for that reason. It's one of the things I find really frustrating. Let's just try them on the watercolour card. So you're getting, so this is interesting. So you are getting some pilling, especially on the craft stash paper. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but there is some pilling there. So I reckon you only get away with one layer before you destroy your image. The watercolour card, again, you're getting a tiny bit of pilling, but not too bad. And then the Nina, you are getting some pilling on there. So yeah, if you want to use these quite heavily, I'd recommend more of a watercolour card stock. There is some pilling on the swatch sheets as well, actually. But But I think with acrylic, you're just going to have to be mindful of that. You want to use a thicker card, and probably one that can take probably more of a mixed media card, which is why the watercolor card isn't pilling, because obviously you can get away with more heavy mediums on that. But yeah, you can definitely layer up though. You can see that I can do that here, but obviously the more I layer, the more pilling I'm getting, and then I'm just taking off the paint underneath because it's not quite dry yet. So, but I think these are going to be really fun for art journaling. Let me just grab a black one, and I've got my art journal here. Let's just swatch it first on the swatch sheet. I know obviously this is black card. So the fine tip actually feels really nice to write with. Let's just write my name with the acrylic marker, and then we'll do a box as well. So because this is a fine tip and it's not dumping out as much paint, you actually don't get any pilling if you write with it. So this would be great for adding details. Yeah, I like that. And this is what I wanted to demonstrate with my art journal book. So for example, let me just see. So for example, this page here. So if I wanted to just add a black border to this, I could then use the acrylic marker to do that. And then because it's acrylic, it's going to stay as vibrant as it goes down. Sometimes if you use a black pen, if it's a water-based pen, as it dries back a bit. Whereas I would really want my black drawing lines to stay crisp. And so that's what this is going to do as it dries. And yeah, I like the fact that you've got that smaller tip. So you've got a lot more control over where you're drawing. And it would be great for like adding details as well. So I could just add a few dots to my page. Also, if I wanted to add a border, I'm just going to have to prime that side because we've not used the border side yet. So let me just prime that. There we go. So I could add a big black border around the page. That's really nice, and they are very opaque. So yeah, I'll just put that aside to dry, and these are I just think these are going to be a great addition to my supplies, especially when it comes to journaling. I also wanted to just test out as well with acrylic markers. We could use it through a stencil, so I'm going to just try it on the watercolor card because we know it pills a little bit on the other cardstock. So I definitely would recommend more of a mixed media based cardstock here. But let me just grab a stencil. I've got this layered tulip stencil from a Colourful Life Designs, and I just want to try using oh, that's a really nice, we've got magenta, and let's try it with, let's grab these. So I've got metallic mint, pink neon, and magenta. Let's give them a shake. They definitely do take a little bit of time just to prime. So here we go. So this pen, here's an example of the pen colour looking slightly different. You can see the cap colour is more of a burgundy magenta, whereas it comes out a bit more pale. I'm going to add some details with this one. Oh wow, that is a nice bright pink, and add some dots to this one. So they layer over each other quite nicely. There we go. So you could definitely use these pens with your stencils. And I think the key is to not use the circle motions. That's what I'm kind of colouring as if I'm colouring with an alcohol marker or a you know, coloured pencil. And I think the key is to not use the swirly motions that you'd use. Now this is a metallic green, and I would say it's slightly darker than the lid. The lid does say on it metallic mint, and it's definitely metallic, which is really cool. But you can see where I've used circular motions, I have got some pilling, and this is the watercolour card. So that's something to be mindful of. You wouldn't want to use the circle motions that you may be used to colouring with. But as I said, I'm just trying these out for the first time. The only acrylic marker I've got is a Posca pen, and I have only used that to really do splatters and a few fine details. So I would imagine, well, let me try it actually. I would imagine all paint pens, if you use the circular motion, would peel the paper. Yeah. So you can see there, if I do circles on the paper, you do get some pilling. Let me just do it again with the Ohuhu black. So they do all peel. However, I would say the Posca dries quicker, but you can see they've definitely all peeled there. So yeah, I think it's just the nature of the acrylic markers. You wouldn't be wanting to colour in a circular motion. You're not going to get the desired effect. And you can see where I've not used the circular motion on the bottom leaves, when I finally figured it out. Well, that's dry now, that's good. You haven't got any pill in there. So yeah, something to be mindful of. Stencil, I will just wash that with water and get the paint off. And let's just compare the colour again. So now it's dried back, you can see it's, I would say the colour is slightly lighter, whereas the metallic green is slightly brighter. So yeah, I will swatch those out and play with them, and hopefully you'll see me using them in future videos when I'm doing art journaling, things like that. So I'll just pop these away, and then we'll try the watercolour markers, and I'm quite excited to try those as well. So here are the Ohuhu Pupe colour markers, water-based, paper-friendly, vibrant colours, paper durability ensured. So what they mean by that is it shouldn't cause the pilling, and they're non-toxic, which is good. 60 colours, and they've got a brush tip and a fineliner tip. I love the fact that all their stuff comes in cases, which is really nice. Oh wow. So you get a swatch sheet that's already done for you, and a swatch sheet that you can do. Some safety information. So let's try it out. Let's try this one out. Pale lemon. So let's see how the swatch. Well, let's just show you the tips first, actually. So you've got this brush tip. And then a fine tip, which is really fine. So let's try and swatch out the pale lemon. That is really smooth to use. I'm just going to focus on the brush tips just for the swatching. So this is Acacia. I just want to compare how they actually swatch out. So I would say the pale lemon yellow is pretty accurate, as is the, actually no, the powder pink is more of a skin tone on here, but in real life it's more of a peachy tone. So yeah, you're definitely going to want to swatch them out. And obviously depending on the card that you use, it's going to depend on how they look. Now what I really want to do is I want to stamp an image and colour it in, and I want to see how they blend with water. And so for that I'm going to use watercolour cardstock, just because I'll compare it with the Craft Slash Smooth, because I have to say I feel like that's performing better than the Nina. So let's stamp an image out and then we'll colour it. So I've got the Smiling Bloom stamp set from Gina K Designs. And So I'm using VersaFine Clair Nocturne Black ink because it's a waterproof ink, and we're using watercolor markers, and I'm going to be using water. So I'm going to stamp it on twice on each because I'm going to try and blend without water and blend with water and just see how that looks. What I love about the Pink Frog watercolour cardstock is that you get a really lovely stamped image. Even though there's some texture, it is a very smooth watercolour card. So yeah, and the same with the Craft Stash one. Your stamps just stamp really well on it. I highly recommend this cardstock actually. It's really affordable and it's great with your alcohol markers and colouring. You just, yeah, you get a really lovely finish. So I'll pop those to one side and let's just pick out a couple of colours. So let me bring it back in so you can see. Got loads of colours as well. I mean, look at that. I'm going to stick with some muted greens, and then I'll do, let's have a look actually. What colour should we do them? Let's do them a pale pink. Well, no, let's do them. Let's do a slightly pale pink with a more vibrant pink. We'll try and blend them together. And I'm going to keep that, pop that away. I'm going to take an orange out as well. Just, yeah, let's try that. So I've took out deep olive green, fruit pink, pine tree green, rose red and orange. So let's first of all just try and blend them together themselves. Let's do the bigger leaf. So I'm going to start with the lighter colour, and they're really juicy pens. So the ink is flowing out really nicely. It's almost seamless, to be honest. They do blend really nicely. Let's just try and add some darker colour where we would have perhaps maybe more darker leaves. And then I'm just going to use water. So I've just got plain water in here and just using a Princeton Round 4 Acrylic brush. And let's just try and see if they move well with water. So they do move, but where I've done that solid line, it's not moving very well. Let me just try here. So you're not going to lose that harsh line. Interesting. Let me just try it with the pink as well. Yeah, same again. So they don't really, I kind of hope they would blend together, but that's probably just because I'm not using them correctly. So let's try and do a flower. But the finish is actually really nice. It's really smooth and a really nice finish. So one other thing I want to try, I'm going to try it with a lighter green, is whether you can, you know, like if you're hand lettering, you can get dual colours. I'm going to just see if you can pick up some colour on the tip. So they're not juicy enough to kind of, I think I do pick up a little bit of it. Maybe I need to try it with more contrasting colours so that you can see that. Let's try the red with the orange. So I'm going to just try and pick up some of the red on the orange tip. Yeah, so there you go. You can see that you've got more of the red in the orange at the beginning, and then it goes back to its natural colour. So that's fun if you're doing lettering, hand lettering. Let's just try another flower. So they do colour really nicely, but you're not going to get like a watercolour blend, which is what I kind of thought they would do. But this is something I really need to play around with a little bit more. I actually really like the effect you get because the colour is really smooth. So if you just want to do some basic colouring, they actually look really nice. Let's just try it on the Craft Stash Super Smooth. I'm not going to try on here with water because I know this card doesn't hold up very well to water. But let's see how it holds up to the watercolour markers. And that is really smooth. Like actually incredibly smooth. I would say they're performing better on this paper than the watercolour cardstock. Yeah, look at that. Really, really nice. And I actually feel like they're going to blend on here. So let's put some of that down. Oh, look at that. They actually look really nice. Let me just try the same blend that I did. The same blend that I did on the watercolour card. They actually blend really well on this. So this side, that's the same blend that I did on here, and you can see it blends much better on the smoother cardstock than the watercolour cardstock. That's interesting. I wonder if, oh, I know this card doesn't hold up very well to water, but I just wonder if the ink will move. No, it doesn't move. Okay, that's fine, but it blends really nicely on this. And I actually really like the smooth finish that you get. So let's just try this. I'm just going to add this pale pink here, and then I'm just going to add some highlights with this darker, well, the rose red, and just see if we can get those to blend a little bit. I think they're too contrasty to blend. Just try something a little bit closer in colour shade. So if you go over it enough times, you do get them to blend, and they actually blend really nicely. So that was the powder pink with the fruit pink, and you do get a blend. Now what I will say is I've gone over that side quite a bit, but I did go over this side more, and I added water. So where I've added water, it's pilled. Here, very minimal, but it looks really good. And I just love how smooth that is. And you can just see the slight blend on the leaf. So yeah, they're going to be really fun to play with, and I will swatch them all out. And you will be seeing them in future videos because I really want to play with them and use them, especially in my art journal and for colouring stamped images. So I think these are actually a really nice alternative to alcohol markers, in that if you're a beginner and you're just starting out colouring and you want that flat smooth finish, these are actually a really affordable way to get that without having to worry about any kind of ink blending techniques. And I would say you just get that more smooth matte finish. So yeah, they're fun to play with, and I'm really looking forward to getting the alcohol markers and having a play with those. I would definitely be experimenting with the acrylic markers and the watercolour markers, and I know that the Fineliner pens they sent me very kindly are going to be great for adding details to art journal pages or writing sentiments and things. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that this has given you some insight into some of the products that Ohuhu offer. I do have a special discount code if you're interested, so I'll pop that along with the link in the description box below. The code is cards-by Laura, all in capital letters. As always, all the products that I've showed today will be linked below. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you've enjoyed this video today, and don't forget to leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of the Ohuhu products. Remember that all the information that I've shared today is my own opinion. It's just my first impression of the products that they've sent me. Obviously I haven't had a chance to play with them long term yet, so I'm really looking forward to being able to do that. Also, I'm looking at it from the perspective of a card maker and art journaler hobbyist. So this isn't a profession and I'm not an artist. So of course, there'll be different ways to use the products depending on your skill level. As always, I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, then I'd really appreciate you considering doing so. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.